Hello gamers, it's Nyce, and I hope everyone's still holding out hope for the MMORPG genre is having a nice day. Today, I want to get a discussion going around player versus player interactions in MMOs, the psychological observations of the MMO player when it comes to PvP, and the market or lack thereof for a hardcore PvP MMO. I want to keep this one as short as possible, but if you like these sort of discussions, please consider subscribing for more. The MMORPG genre has been around for quite some time and stands for massive multiplayer online role-playing game. Believe it or not, it's not among the most popular genres, as the genre in itself isn't the most casual despite players varying from hardcore to casual levels. I haven't played even close to as many different MMOs as some of my peers, but I know enough to know that the MMORPG genre more times than not focuses on the PvE/RPG side of things rather than focusing on PvP. PvE being player versus environment or AI/NPCs, and obviously PvP being player versus player. Obviously, there is the outlier of hardcore PvP focused MMOs, but more on those later. PvE is the obvious choice of focus as it will appeal to a larger audience. Not everyone enjoys PvP, but most games we've played have a PvE focus for the most part. Even if the game had PvP and that was your focus, there was typically a story mode, questline, campaign, or something like that which existed. Most game developers know they need casuals or PvE focused players in order to retain a steady population, especially in the niche MMORPG genre. While the niche of MMO PvP exists in the already niche MMORPG genre, it's not exactly the mass appeal most think it is. And it's okay to admit that. I tell you that as someone who has literally built their content creation around MMO PvP. I love MMO PvP. I love fighting against the odds and just engaging with other players. A lot of you know me from Outnumbered PvP, 1vx, etc, etc. Win or lose, you say GG. You respawn and then you go try again. However, not everyone has that mindset like me and maybe even you. There is a loud vocal majority who really dislike PvP, and even more whom hate involuntary PvP. You know, PvP you don't necessarily have to sign up or quote consent to via entering a PvP queue, a PvP zone, an instance, or signing up for a PvP server. And this is okay, this is fine. It's important to understand that everyone has their own gaming preferences, their own likes and dislikes and goals when they log into a video game or when they choose to purchase a video game. So before we do a dive into the psychology of MMOs, I want to further elaborate on these involuntary PvP games, or as they are better known as, hardcore PvP MMOs. These MMOs unapologetically have their target audience and their own niche. Concepts of risk versus reward, full loot, and open world PvP attract their thrill-seeking adventurers. However, it doesn't exactly translate into big money or population for the developers of these projects. Telling players they can lose everything or a percentage of things upon death can often harm the new player experience and maybe even turn people off from even giving your game a try. Those of you who follow my channel closely know that I often cover upcoming MMO Ashes of Creation, which is still in its early alpha state. I recently posted a video on node sieges in this game. It's an incoming feature which would see nodes/towns that players built up and invested in completely destroyed and reset. This would cause players to lose citizenship, housing, and their hard-earned materials, and the artisan buildings that players invested into for the whole server. An example of the game building the world through PvE and changing it through PvP. As I predicted, many players in the comments weren't aware of the system or expressed dissatisfaction with it. While MMO Ashes of Creation may not be considered a hardcore MMO by most per se, this serves as a good example of players not favoring risk versus reward when PvP is involved. This doesn't mean gamers don't like high difficulty or challenges or even need hand-holding. I feel the success of Elden Ring is a good testament to this, even though it's not an MMORPG obviously. But if we take a look at some hardcore PvP games who are unapologetically who they are, such as, I don't know, Mortal Online 2, we'll see that most hardcore PvP focused MMOs don't necessarily find success. Of course, you could discuss other issues with the title as the reason it struggles to hit 1K concurrent players, but for the players who play it, they are having a good time enjoying themselves in a social sandbox MMORPG. I rarely tune into a stream of Mortal Online 2 where the person isn't enjoying themselves, and honestly, the game looks fun and I'm hoping to give it a try soon. This is despite the game essentially being full loot PvP. While it may be fun for some, having PvP and PvE being able to happen simultaneously isn't a good thing to some people. A lot of people don't like PvP and PvE being sort of intertwined. They really want it as separate systems. People often don't like the idea that they can be PK'd at any time while exploring, fighting NPCs, or role-playing in the back of a player-made brothel. These games usually have a system like Mortal Online 2 does with the criminal system, or how Ashes of Creation has with the corruption system, to deter meaningless PvP and limit the potential of the game becoming a gank box. However, one must ask, is this sustainable, being that most hardcore PvP MMOs, aside from maybe like an Albion and a few others, suffer this population trend where they hold a small but consistent player base with no growth appeal, or just flat out die due to griefing or potential non-consensual PvP, not being able to rope players in and not being able to retain the new players that do come in. But why? Do MMO players hate challenges? Do they not want PvP because of the challenge? Do they not yearn for competition? I don't think this is the case, because why are MMO players willing to do in-game dungeons and difficult trials and take on the toughest world bosses with a great attitude and continue trying again and again? Why is there such a huge difference dying to a character being controlled by another human somewhere out there in the world, and dying to Mardon, the crystal troll of Valeria, an NPC randomly placed in the world? And this is where we'll discuss the psychology of PvP MMOs. Why is it that dying to another player triggers that frustration in us, whereas dying in a PvE situation like the Call of Duty campaign mode just lets you click respawn typically without even an ounce of frustration coming across you? If Chainsmoker XX69420XX quickscopes you in Call of Duty and teabags you afterwards, it'll prompt frustration, hate mail, you turn red, get frustrated, put on the mic, and may even throw your controller or keyboard across the room. As a PvP focused player, I've seen it all, even when I'm not even toxic, just getting hate mail from just killing someone in PvP. You kill a player, you get hate mail, teabagged, doxed, and reported because you triggered something, just something in that player's psyche when you previously killed them earlier that day. They may have even taken it personal, as that's their character that they've been role playing with, that they've grown an attachment with. In RPGs, especially single player ones, we're made out to be the hero, the chosen one, the one who saves the day. So when you finish the Elder Scrolls Online main campaign and save all of Tamriel just for me to 1v3 you and your friends, it causes some immersion breaking frustration. You were supposed to be the chosen one, right? Then there's the psychological downer of not being in control and feeling you didn't even have a chance. That person just had better gear than me. That player's just been playing longer than me. His class was just better. Stuff like this. MMOs will never be balanced, as characters have different classes, armor, weapons, stats, experience levels, and more. But the goal for MMO PvP is to constantly strive to be as possibly balanced as it could be with the tools given, even though it'll never achieve true balance. No matter how much you try though, MMOs will not be perfectly balanced, nor will a lot of aspects of online player versus player gaming ever be balanced. It's not like a fighter where you can just say, oh, I misread that input, or they just outplayed me, or something like that. It's just something different with MMO PvP. So developers, even if PvP friendly, must walk a fine line when introducing and focusing on their PvP aspect. Those of you who have been around for a while may remember when I mained MMO New World. Well, I plan to return and do an updated review of the title. I was a PvP main, so when I saw that they recently introduced PvP servers with mandatory open world PvP, well, I was excited. However, even as someone who really likes New World's open world PvP, I knew this mandatory flagging after level 15 for PvP was gonna end up going one obvious way.
Do your ass.
Listen.
Go inside and I will do your ass. You heard me warn him. You heard me.
We just witnessed the griefing of griefing. Let's follow Jasmine. Jasmine is toxic. He's max level, just sitting in the starter area griefing people. We're gonna stalk him.
Uh-oh, Butterberry. Don't run from this dick. Don't run from this dick. Don't run from this dick.
People think Ashes of Creation is hardcore? Excuse me?
Oh.
He doesn't notice I'm stalking. Oh, 265s! You got somebody your level. Oh, you finally found somebody your level. You died. Karma. Oh, I love the karma. He wasn't talking shit after that. So yeah, New World seasonal PvP realm sought to get back to its original design of open world PvP before it was pressured by consumers to change, but it became a griefing fest where max level players returned to the starting zone after leveling just to bully new players and even camp the quest turn-in locations of low-level story missions. Obviously, there's a difference between PvP and griefing, but if this was your first introduction to New World, which it was for a lot of players, you may not be motivated to help player retention numbers. I truly believe it's just a psychological thing when it comes to MMO PvP.
And many people that play these hardcore MMOs play them with the intent of making other people quit the game. By being like that dominant in the game that other people are going to quit in order to, because they're just getting fucking destroyed.
If you spend hours and hours grinding dungeons and finally get the ultimate sword drop and then another player kills you and takes it, you will become extremely demotivated and not really feel like getting it again. But the player that killed you is now super happy he got a rare sword. One player is extremely saddened, another is elated.
Happy
Unfortunately
vampires.
for player retention, this has been shown to lead to the defeated player quitting and the player base dropping.
Yeah.
Now you might be saying the defeated player needs to just toughen up and go and grind again, but player base drops over time have shown the majority of gamers are not fans of hardcore design like this.
In short, even as a MMO PvP main, I can see the frustrations of PvE mains or even just players who want to keep their PvE and PvP separate. While for me, I love PvX, or rather the combination of PvE and PvP together, the frustration of dying to a player versus dying to AI is just for some reason an unavoidable trigger in gaming, and it elicits different responses from us. And when this occurs in the niche genre of MMOs, it can frustrate your whole player base. As fun as open world MMO PvP is, and as much as, in my opinion, it's the most fun thing in gaming, we must understand there is a varying player preference out there, and we must hope that developers find the right balance whilst also not over catering to one crowd or the other. I hope you all enjoyed this video, as it was something different, and if you did, please let me know by liking the video. I'll be scanning every one of your glorious comments below, so please comment your thoughts on PvP MMOs, or PvP in MMOs rather. Thank you so much to our YouTube channel members, our Twitch subs, and Patreon members. Links to show support will be down in the description. Thank you so much for watching. It's been nice.